wanting to get him, and he's at least tough enough.
Yeah.
We are recording. We're hot. I mean, it doesn't matter if we're right now. We're talking about something.
Easy Fire is another one that you might want to look into.
Easy Fire.
Mm-hmm. I don't mind.
You guys getting this? Easy Fire. Free shout out for this Easy basketball.
Fire.
B-ball. All right. I have no idea where this is going to take us. So let's get casting. This is going to be fun. Because I'm sick and tired of something that we talked about earlier this week. But then I just dropped it and just left it at that with you.
Okay.
And I said, I'm tired of the gamesmanship or the partisan or the division or the perceived division. Just to include everything. The perceived division that we have as far as Republicans versus Democrats, as far as liberals versus conservatives, as far as, skin color versus skin color, all of this hocus pocus. I'm tired of it, and I wanted to get your take, so I wanted to just drop it. I'm tired of, let's just put that all into one group. One group. And the one group is, if you're a Republican and or a conservative and or whatever you want to call yourself, you wear the red hat. You're a Boston Red Sox fan. But if you're a Democrat and you're maybe liberal or so on and so forth, so everybody's, we're just doing two groups here. You're a Yankees fan. And it is requisite for all Boston Red Sox fans
to hate the Yankees.
I
get you.
And it's impossible for all Yankee fans or any Yankee fan to not hate the Bo Sox. So your take on this?
Oh, got me mid-drink.
It's all good.
Yeah. I don't love it. And there's something great about a sports rivalry, which is a great comparison. I totally understand, and the metaphor is awesome. I feel differently about when we have big decisions on the line than when we're talking about athletics. I think athletics, I like a healthy rivalry. I don't mind that you hate the Red Sox or hate the Yankees.
Heck yeah.
I also respect the sports fan that respects what the history of both clubs are and can say, yeah, we've gotten our butt kicked by a pretty respectful problem, but I still hate the Yankees. I'm okay with that in a sports realm. When we're talking about our life decisions and the future of our country, when we're so far apart, it's like dealing with two different countries.
Right.
And you can't, we're the United States of America, and that united part becomes completely obsolete.
It seems like we're forgetting. I was hoping. I didn't know what I was hoping for. That I love that united. We're all American,
right?
Whether you're a liberal Democrat or a Democrat conservative, or a Republican conservative or a extreme conservative, we're all American. And so I'm thinking of the Red Sox and Yankees, and I just thought of this. I don't know why, but you said you liked yourself a great rivalry.
Sure.
Yeah, they're fun to watch. And so I was thinking 04. And the Bo Sox are down 03. And they come back and win 4 in a row. Never been done before against the highly favored Yankees. That's the bloody sock with Kurt Schilling. That's the really cool,
awesome story.
Really cool story. The players after that. A handful of the Red Sox players ended up as Yankees down the road. I'm not sure their reputation, at least in that little area. But that said, the players after that Game 7 were congratulating each other. We're good luckin', To me, there was no fight on the field. There was that A-Rod shot with the arm. That was lame sauce. But that was during the game. That wasn't after. But that said, they were still all baseball players. They were still all fans of the game. They were still all, they kept their heads about themselves. So we're all, like you said, united. We're all part of this same family. called the United States of America. And so you and your cute wife, she's kind of a do-gooder. And I just get to hear about her, and I'm like, I'm nervous that she's not going to like me when we meet.
She actually asked me the other day. She's like, "You spend so much time with Dana. Do we need to go out to dinner with Dana and Paige?" I said,
"It's funny. Paige said the same exact thing."
So we need to. The women will have to plan it because you and I.
We're just It's just already not going to happen. It's like goes without saying. Much love still, but it is what it is. Let's get them out there planning it because we're game, guys. We're game.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're American, but we're okay. So let's look at our families. Let's look at our households. And you and your wife are raising and teaching. What's it? 4 kids?
We got 4.
Yeah, 4. And Paige and I are raising 7. And so, well, I don't know about 7 now. I mean, do they fall off once they're a certain age?
You'd think, but my 18-year-old, I still feel.
I love that kid.
He came in last
week.
I
love that kid. But yeah, I get you. Okay, so 7.
I think so. For a while, at least.
For a while. Till they're safely dead.
Yeah, married.
You're still in it.
Getting their own kids, I think, at the very least.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm not there yet. That said, we've got a household to run. And so I stick a flip-flop. And I'm pretty sure Paige doesn't listen to these things because she's not amongst the score of people that listen to these things. But if she does, I'm in deep right about now.
Let's see.
So
you don't want to retract whatever's going on?
I put her flip-flop. Not just anybody's. Hers. And then I put another flip-flop on the other side. So when you go through our garage, you can go one way or the other. And that's, there's no real preferred way. Okay. I just wondered how long said flip-flop, how long it would be there until somebody just picked it up.
So this is a social experiment you did, or
I did.
Okay.
I did this.
Okay.
I picked them both up this morning.
After how long?
3 weeks. They were driving me nuts when I got in this morning. Okay. I passed by the sink. There's stuff in the sink. I like a clean sink. I like clean. I like things put where they should go. All right. We're the family's government. Okay. Would you agree with that? Like parents are the government of the family. That's what we should be.
Yeah, at least very, very much should be.
Okay. Running out of McDonald's. And I don't go to McDonald's. And I especially don't do drive-thrus. But Paige likes herself a Diet Coke. And McDonald's has a good blend. So I guess kudos to McDonald's and their blends. I'm rolling out. And my window I'm not putting it up just yet. And it is hot outside, but it doesn't matter. So I'm just pulling away. And I notice as I'm pulling away, 15,000 pieces of chewed gum on the ground, like gum. And and I'm driving, I don't think really anything of it until I'm driving down the road. There's a lot of people out there that are just spitting their gum out to go shovel their fries down as they're driving off. And I'm thinking to myself, and it got me onto all sorts of interesting topics in my mind. Nobody wants to live there. Nobody. That said, I'm like, have I ever met one sophisticated individual in my life, somebody that had something good to say that chewed gum? I haven't.
At least while they were chewing it.
Or at least while. I'm going to go on the record saying I'm not sure they ever do chew gum. And I'm thinking, I turned around at risk of watering down the diet soda. But I turned around just for a minute because there was a kind of a higher end restaurant, like literally right across the street. And I went there. You know how many chewed up pieces of gum I saw there?
0?
None. The parking lot was pristine. The landscaping was pristine. And these are the people that don't pay their fair share of taxes. These are the people that screw everybody. These are the people that are oppressing. These are the people that you don't want to live in your neighborhood. Oh, wait, do you? Because have you ever said the words, I kind of have just for fun, there goes the neighborhood. Now, I understand that used to be kind of a racial slur, but I haven't really taken it that way in a long time. That's more of a holy crap, look at all the
cars on the block,
cars all over the place, yeah, and just the disheveled, in the front door that could use a paint job 20 years ago, and all their storage seems to be out in front of God and country. There goes the neighborhood. And why? Because 3 doors down is going to start doing that. And Ann said, thank goodness for HOAs. And I thought to myself, well, hold the phone. You live in a community that has almost 100 homes in it. Mm-hmm. How many homes in that community don't have a lawnmower going over it?
Yeah, so I've lived in a few different neighborhoods, and all of them have had HOAs. And I'd hate, I know, out loud saying there's an economic factor to it, but obviously we've upgraded homes as we've gone along. And I would say in the 2 neighborhoods before, you might, even with an HOA, there's a straggler house there that somebody's renting, or I'm sure has got a bunch of HOA notices and delinquencies. In the neighborhood I'm in right now, I couldn't tell you if there's one. There's not one that's run down or whatever. And I maybe unlucky. I'm sure there's...
And there's likely somebody renting in there. There's likely somebody that is leasing or renting a home in there. There's likely... But people that can afford that rent take care of their things. They're the ones not spitting the gum out of their window.
In fact, there's two rentals in my neighborhood that I know of, and both of the owners I know because they've moved out of state and they're friends of mine. In fact, one used to be my employee, and she says that they're paying renters because they want everything ship-shape because they're paying the amount of money that they're paying.
Right. They want
everything.
Good.
So yeah. So as a landlord, she's a lot more responsible for making sure everything's
awesome.
Good. Yeah.
To me, it's pride. To me, it's we all come narcissistic. When a 2-year-old sees another 2-year-old or another child with a donut, you might expect a bum rush. Okay? You may expect that 2-year-old not to understand that is the other person's donut, so on and so forth. Okay. At some point, this raising, so that's why the flip-flop scenario, take care, train, raise, teach in the best way possible. But you put a camera outside that McDonald's that takes a picture or, runs on a loop, and they get a $427.62 fine for littering or face criminal charges in the mail because they can take a picture of your license plate, take a picture of you, and send it out in the mail. How much gum's going to stay there?
Yeah.
How much gum's going to stay there at that point?
Yeah. No, So I want to go back and ask you a question, and this is not even. It's on the topic, but so you're saying you left a flip flop for 3 weeks that nobody picked up, and you got 7 kids potentially that could have walked by.
There were 8
even
people.
A wife. Yeah, and maybe even a wife that could have walked
No,
by.
but it's just maybe. Neither confirm nor deny.
So we have the same. So my wife literally, this is funny that you say this because last night she was ranting and raving it's summertime, so my kids have somebody over every night, right?
Yep.
It's just the nature of it.
That's the way it goes.
So there's always teenagers in the house, and we've got a few that I would really compliment and say are pretty respectful about throwing away garbage, but I don't know where the disconnect came from our generation to this generation where, look, sometimes I'm messy, and I'm messy in really weird ways, maybe common ways. My clothes tend to stay on the same side of the bed for whatever reason. Sometimes it takes me a minute to hang up clothes, whatever. That's my bad thing. But for the most part, I don't leave dishes on a couch. I don't throw garbage on the floor. My children and their friends do not know what a garbage can is.
Right.
They literally cannot find a garbage can. It is open, and I can't even fathom it. Sometimes when I try and think about it, it just makes me angry, similar to maybe your experiment. You open an applesauce. We have these applesauce packets that the kids love. It's got a little twisty cap.
Yeah.
The cap automatically on the
On the
floor.
floor.
No garbage can. It's 10 feet to the garbage can.
On
and
your
I find
few
them
$1,000 leather couch
Absolutely.
right there.
Find them everywhere. Find dishes on my kids' nightstands that milk has been rotting away for 4 days. There's garbage everywhere. And my wife's just ranting and raving last night as she's going by they just think there's a magic fairy that comes by and picks it up. And I'm like, yeah,
I've said that before.
Yeah.
Right.
And what would happen to the house if we didn't? And I think we tried that experiment for a week, and then it just drove us both crazy enough we just started cleaning it up or yelling at the kids to clean it up. So how are we losing our kids on this part? That's my question. Do you have a parenting advice for me? But it doesn't sound like it because you went 3 weeks without somebody picking it up.
So I'm failing miserably. So I'm going to implement the foregoing.
So do I need a fine?
It's the fine.
Okay.
So the fine is there is no kids coming over. You're going over there to jack up their parents' house. And if I hear, because I'm going to call their parents and find out how you left the place.
I ask that question so much. Do you do this at your friend's house? If not, I'm not. If you do, I'm not going to let you go over there.
Right. Well, they do.
Disrespectful.
They do. So at the end of the day, what happens at your place, the fairy also exists elsewhere. And so their cars look that way. And so their closets look that way. Their drawers look that way. Their insides look that way.
So why don't they have pride? Do they not feel ownership over our homes?
No.
Is that it?
No, it's entitlement. It's entitlement. And all roads lead to narcissism. So it's like, okay, that doesn't make them bad. That means somewhere along the line I failed and I need to do something now.
Change that. To
remedy that situation. So this McDonald's problem is not new. This has been going on for years and years and years. Okay? I'm assuming anyway.
Yeah.
So that said, they get a fine. Eventually, it's going to magically stop. And somebody's going to learn how to put their gum, which I disagree with chewing gum in the first place, but nonetheless, who cares one way or the other? That's not a hill to die on. They're going to learn to tear off a piece of the bag that they just got, put the gum in it, and probably even put it at the bottom of the bag to where it ends up in a receptacle at some point soon. That said, all of this crap, that is a deterrent. All right? So government, the folks on the left, the folks on the right, both look at that gum probably the same way I did. Because there are we all are united. We all are citizens of the United States of America. We all like a clean neighborhood. We all like safety. We all like, we differ on how we want to see healthcare run. We all differ on how we want to see taxes run. We all differ on how we want to see what's what with Social Security. And these are all things that we differ in. Okay, that's fine. But where are we the same? We're all playing the same game. It's called baseball. And back to the Yankees and the Boston Red Sox, they both want to get to the World Series. One is going to get there, one is not. But the next season, one is going to get there possibly, and one is not. And the next season, there's season after season. So there's some symbolism in that. Okay, but in the meantime, why can't we just decide now it's okay that we have different opinions? Let's figure this out. Let's look at what we have in common. It's the golden rule. Whether you are a Buddhist, you like Allah, is it Allah? Whatever. Allah. Or you're a Jewish individual or Christian individual. It doesn't matter who said the golden rule. All of these religions believe in treat others like you would want to be treated. All of them believe in that. They all teach that truth. Okay? And that truth is, you know what, I'm going to keep my place not only nice because I want to have pride in where I live, but I want to have pride in my neighborhood. Okay, I want to have pride in my home, so my kids, so I do that little experiment so I can figure out, okay, how the Sam am I going to figure this out? I'll let you know on that one. I don't have a magic bullet yet. But the comments of our score of people that watch, I would like some hints. There's got to be somebody out there listening to this saying, this is what I do and it works like $1 million.
Yeah, I'd love it.
What I would do with yours is I would say, no, nobody over here. You can go where you want. But I'm going to call their parents and see how their place looked when you were done. And if it looked like it's been looking here, you ain't going there either.
Yeah, we've tried. You're now in charge of garbage for a week. I've taken out the garbage, and it just it hasn't clicked. I've tried
It's got to have a consequence.
Whatever, yeah. And the consequence we've tried, and maybe it fixes for a minute. I remember my mom at one point was sick of me throwing my towel on the floor because I'd never had a dry towel, right? And my kids do the same thing.
Right.
So she took all the towels away from me and made me drip dry for 2 weeks, and that solved the problem. I haven't found that magic solution. My kids just, oh yeah, I've got garbage to do. That sucks for a week, and then back
the youngest doesn't hang his towel up.
It's my youngest is the worst.
Doesn't hang his towel up. So I'm in the middle of your mom's thing. He complains every night, and it's music to my ears. He's drip drying.
Yep.
And
hopefully it clicks.
Yep. And he came running up. He came running out last night, not dry enough, and frankly, it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, well, start hanging up your towel, man. You might not do that anymore. So
what's the lesson? What do we teach the American people? What's the consequence? Is it a lack of identity, which we've talked about? Is it a lack of purpose?
I think the first thing we need to figure, I love that you brought it back. Okay. So I think the first thing we need to figure is we're all American. We all live in the same neighborhood. So there's the
identity part of it, right?
That's our identity. We're American.
So do you think that pride in being an American has somewhat disseminated? It's so much dissolved a little bit?
I feel like just the mere statement of I'm an American and being proud of being an American, just that has eroded through time. We're apologetic for this and apologetic for what?
Apologize all the time.
Stop with the apologies. We're American. Let's be proud. And we live in this nation. We live in this neighborhood, all of us together. Let's have pride in who we are. Let's start there.
And my biggest problem that I have with the kind of the culture of today of that shame of being American is a problem for me because we're a very young country, right? Yep. 200 plus years old. I guess we're approaching almost 300, almost coming up here. So that's looking at cultures and societies and countries. That's young. And our evolution of where we started to where we are now is great. Like there is a lot of improvements from some maybe ugly histories that at least a lot of cultures have not. It's not unique to just
It's not
the
unique
United
to us.
States. But we adjusted fairly quickly and we evolved fairly quickly. And I'm proud of that constant evolution. But I feel like in times past when we evolved, we continued the pride of why we were able to evolve, the freedoms, the liberties that we have that allowed us, the people, to clamor and get things changed.
Right.
I don't love that now it's become not a pride, but rather just move on to the next issue that we can shame the country on, or the people on, or the setup. And we've got, honestly, the best setup in the entire world.
Where in the world, Jesse, and you've traveled this world more than I have, where in the world, where else are people risking their lives to get here?
Yeah.
Answer me. Tell me one place in this entire world where somebody is risking their lives, their virtue, their money, their everything to get there.
And at least in the long term, like we had some short refugees problems in Europe, and it wasn't even that they were going to a certain country.
Right, but that was
they were, we were getting out of Syria and whatever else and forced things, and so there has been, but that's all short lived. I mean, any influx of immigration and whatever else in those types of countries, and those are may have somewhat similar systems to the United States. those are short-lived. For us, it's been, hundreds of years. People have clamored risked lives from the beginning.
Right. That ocean voyage wasn't safe.
Yeah.
There was no life vests.
Right.
And
it's still happening. Sure.
And it's still going on. I mean, we see it every day. That's what you do.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's like, let's remind ourselves, start with our score of listeners, share this with everybody and like, subscribe and all that jazz. But let's have pride in being American. And whether you're on the left or whether you're on the right, we have so much in common and enough to where we can respect each other and at least dignity in that respect to where we can have a conversation. And if there's a disagreement within it, try to find the similarities too. It
was interesting. It's summertime and we're flipping through the channels and it's so hard to find something to watch, even though we have about 1 million things to watch. Right. And so it's one of those nights where we're flipping through. It's hot as blazes. If you're not from Arizona, it's 115 degrees this week, whatever. So this is two nights ago, 2 nights ago. My kids are home it's rare that they're home. I got my 2 youngest homes. I got some kids at camp this week. So I've got my 2 youngest home who are 13 and 14. And we're scrolling through on Netflix. I find it's called The Secret Tapes. And it's basically unseen footage from certain world events that hadn't been seen, hadn't been disclosed, whether it was classified or whether they were home videos that had. And the one that I pulled up, so there were different events, World War II, whatever. I pulled up the Rodney King trials because I lived through that. Yeah. And I was like, interesting. It's been a while since I've visited that topic. Yeah. And so turned it on. The kids were kind of wandering in, and then they kind of stopped and sat down and watched and had never heard of this.
Interesting, yeah.
Never heard of the LA riots.
See that. Sure.
And they're going, what happened here? And there was home footage that I had never seen. It was a fascinating documentary of just within a 5-hour period of this verdict, how the LA just went nuts and how the police didn't respond and it ended up going. I mean, you lived through it as well, and it was easy to kind of remember it once. And I was probably 11 or 12 at the time, but I remember it. I remember the city being on fire. It was far enough away that I wasn't worried for my safety. Right. But even my parents were talking to me about it, thinking that it might spread a little bit nationwide. Mm-hmm. But that event happened, and it was a major event. And my kids don't even know about it. They know a little bit about a 9/11. They didn't know about this, but there was that at least started some conversation. Rodney King came out and said we didn't handle this right. We learned that the community then attacked the Koreans that had nothing to do with it. Yep. We have similar things that we saw during World War II where the Jews were making money, and so they ended up being the attack of Hitler.
The Japanese encampment.
Or the Japanese encampment, total fear, and so people being innocently pulled out of trucks, where our minds got completely lost on what the purpose of this what was it? What we stopped protesting and we started just destroying. But I feel like we learned at that time that wasn't the way to deal with it. And there was a lot of dialogue that happened after that on that particular issue. And look, did it solve the problem? No, we're constantly evolving. And people would say, maybe there's still many that would say the LA police still have some challenges and whatever else. But that felt like it was a learning experience, which I felt like with 9/11 was a learning experience. Yeah. We reacted weirdly at the first, and there was Muslim attacks and attacks on mosques.
Hysterical.
And then we evolve and we kind of we
slow down a little bit.
We slow down and we think and
then wage the war in the wrong country.
Yeah. But as Americans, that freedom that we have to kind of react, learn, improve is there. And it can evolve and that's something that I've been proud of instead of a dictator type society or something that is set up politically different where that reaction is then police interference and then police state and then we've got a dictator in charge and then we never make that mistake again because we took away everybody's freedom.
It's kind of like, it's so interesting you're bringing this up. It's kind of like the Arpaio days. And everybody, he was America's sheriff, all that jazz. Yeah. Look, people hated him, people loved him.
Absolutely. There was
And
no
so
middle ground on Sheriff
it
Joe.
looks kind of similar to me in the way things are rolling right now. Feels kind of similar. Okay, it's fine. When he was gone, I missed him. And I was a hater while he was on. I just felt like he was a media hound. All they wanted was a microphone in his face, blah, 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 blah. His systems, albeit I did not agree with all of them, his programs and his systems were incredibly humanitarian. More so than we've ever seen. It's so bad right now, it's not even funny. We have no work release, none. So people go to jail and lose their jobs no matter what today.
So Sheriff Joe did actually try and rehabilitate. There was programs
Right.
of
There were 2-for-1s.
Get
right.
you
If you didn't
going
have
on
a
the right
job,
direction.
let's say you didn't have a job, there were 2-for-1s. You could work in the jail, and if you served a purpose in the jail, every 2 days, every 1 day counted for 2. To get you on out. He would reward your work. Okay. There was rehab in jail. And it was a fantastic rehab. It had far better results than a regular run-of-the-mill rehab. Maybe it's because folks were in stripes and the tent cities weren't air-conditioned. And so, you're probably learning a pretty solid lesson there, but it worked. And
you see that on the front lines, right? That's your
that's what we see at the Arizona firm is that all the time, and you're trying to avoid that at the Westover firm. So the funny thing though. Here's the one that the stints or the time in jail was shorter back then, and not only that, but his sheriff's department. Yeah, I'm going to say it. Had above a 3rd grade education. They were awesome. They were competing with CIA, FBI, and I've seen it firsthand.
So very
OIG. They were incredibly good at what they did. Okay. Now, did I agree with everything he did?
Right.
No, I did not. But that said, I saw a lot of those good things. Why weren't they maintained? Why weren't they, whomever, Pinzone was next, why did that not carry on? Why did they shut the door on work release? Well, let me tell the folks out there, and this might mean a lot to a lot of people and a lot of people's families. The reason they shut the door on work release was because when Arpaio was gone, they lost a very large percentage of the sheriff's department. And also those that worked within the jails, the county jails. They didn't have the manpower. They had to keep people in. That was way before COVID. They had to keep people in. They have not rebounded. They still keep people in. No work release. And it's like, you got to be kidding me. This person has a 30-day stint in jail, which is terrible to have that in front of you. But you get out every day from 8 to 8 to work, eat dinner, so on and so forth. You're burning far less resources at the jail. You're continuing to feed your family, and you didn't lose your job. So you don't get out to having been fired. And that's a big deal. So
yeah, and it's you're talking about people you miss and kind of this uniting factor as well. And when you were talking do you know who I miss a little bit, and just a very small element of him, but I'm going to give him compliments where credit is due, is I miss a little bit of President Obama. And that's blasphemy by a lot of people that are on the conservative side. I don't mean the politics of it.
Okay.
What I'm talking about is that I don't feel, since I felt like he was a very good orator. Whether you believed what he said or not, he could stand up there, he could take criticism from the left, take criticism from the right, and be able to stand there without feeling defeated, without name calling and saying, this is my policy. I want you guys to come together and support it because this is what I've chosen to do. I would love support from both sides. He could stand there and do that without it feeling like the two sides were going to divide, right? I felt like, now whether he united or not, I felt like at least he stood there and gave that perception. But then we've got the two that we've got right now. And I don't feel like they're capable of doing that. Number one, I don't feel like they can orate properly. I don't feel like they have any desire to unite. Right. I feel like they have desire to divide. And I know that that's tough for some people to hear, but
I don't know if that's true, but I may push back on that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true.
You meaning right now, the
two we have. I don't know if that's true. I think both of them would sell their souls to be able to unite. I do believe that. It makes for a better campaign and a better victory or better chances of victory. So the uniting thing, and as far as, either side here, Biden, Trump, they would love to make inroads with certain communities and certain thises and certain that's. Obama did come by that naturally, so I do understand where you're going.
Maybe it's just the delivery. Maybe just the delivery. Maybe you're right politically. Yeah, they both need moderate votes. They both need independent votes. So I'm sure they're trying to. I'm sure that in their heads they are. I just don't have. I have zero.
They don't have
either
that
one of
ability.
them standing up there.
They don't have that ability
and expressing it.
Right. They don't have the ability.
Yeah, maybe that's where I'm going with it. That we don't have an orator that can stand up there, and maybe that's people hate the politician orator that always just spewed stuff that maybe didn't believe.
So we're going to get some comments here. So we got a little bit of Obama love here for our score.
Nothing political, just simple. And
Make it
own
clear.
it or not, I got to own it or not. But this is not policy, but I just felt like when he spoke, there was confidence in that speaking.
I didn't have an opinion on Obama outside of he reminded me of a very refined. And I already didn't like Bush, and I know you did, for some of his policies, and I respect the reasoning.
Sure.
I respect the reasoning that he really wished that he would have done. But if wishes were fishes, give me a break. I mean, he failed every war he went to.
Yeah.
And so I don't look at him as a very good president. I look at Tricky Dick, Bill, as a very unfortunate, tragic accident for this for this United States. However, damn good politician, and I hate that. Same with Obama. When he came in, I felt like he was a carpetbagger.
Sure.
So in the movie Outlaw Josie Wales, there's that Indian character that kind of ends up following around Clint Eastwood. And there's this carpetbagger that they just keep running into from time to time. He plays a little bit of a role in this show. In the Outlaw Josie Wales, and this Indian's crossing the street, and he said, "Friend, drink this, it'll cure this and cure that and cure this and cure that." After Civil War, we had these things called carpetbaggers. Okay. And this Indian listened intently of what this guy was selling, and he said, "You drink it." Done. So I feel like that's what Trump is. You drink it. You drink it. Why do I know this place is corrupt? I used it to my advantage. I was part of this club. And so when he said that, I was like, well, okay, that's new. That's new. When Obama, and I'm in probation office, I've got one of our clients that's being interviewed to see how long they were going to be on their term of probation and so on and so forth. I didn't always go to these meetings because they're pretty much a screening, wherein you don't have to be fine. You just have to know your name, date of birth, and kind of generalities, because they have a plea in front of them. They know what it is, and they know how long the probation is already, right? But this particular individual I accompanied, we look at, okay, this person's going to need a little bit of just some assurance during this process. Okay, that's fine, and we did that. While waiting, Obama is on subtitles, so I don't hear the inflection. Yeah. I don't hear the voice. I see the blue shirt that's rolled up. I see the non-buttoned up approach, but it didn't go with the messaging, the words. And I was looking at the words. It's the Iran deal he made. And I was reading this deal word for word without hearing that voice of his, that very persuasive voice. And I mean, he might as well have grown horns on his head, because that was the worst deal this country has ever made, maybe amongst them. And right now, I would say Israel would agree with us big time, because that deal was a corrupt deal. And Iran has been a thorn in the side of all Middle East and us, our United States. So like I said, with the left side of things and the right side of things, we have a lot in common, meaning we want to feel safe. We want to feel heard. We want to enjoy our freedoms. We want to enjoy our freedom of speech. And there are some things that we have in common. And that should be enough to get us to get along. We don't, not to agree. This whole entire experiment was created to not agree on everything. And so you and I kind of look at things a little bit different there, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Next door neighbor, my one of my mentors in law, Kent McKinley, and he is one of the greatest minds and attorneys that I've ever met. He's Atticus Finch. He's walking Atticus Finch. For those of you out there, look it up. Atticus Finch. Okay, our score of folks that are going to look that up, you'll like it. That said, he is from Canada, loves being an American, is a Democrat, and we agreed on very little. However, we both listened to each other and kind of found a lot of similarities within our viewpoints. We're Americans. Let's be proud to be that. And let's start there. If you vote for this person, or I vote for this person, or you vote for this person, and I vote for that person, whatever the case might be, we're still both American. We still, if it hits the fan, we're going to do whatever it takes to protect her.
Yeah. We hope. You and I.
We do hope. We do hope. Next week, we got to talk about, I think next week, if you're in town, or when we meet again, we're going to talk about the trash on the couch and how to figure this out. Because we got a lot of parents out there, and we get a lot of clients out there that would really like to know where to go with that, because we're the government in our own homes, and it's our lack of governance. In my opinion, it's mine.
Yeah, no.
Man, I just saw flip-flops 3 weeks. I'm not feeling too hot about my my governance.
No, I do the same thing.
Now.
I always go, okay, how am I not getting this message across?
I suck.
Yeah.
It's great. I'm glad to have some company.
No, I feel the same way. And it's our job to influence, and for whatever reason, the message isn't being heard. And that's, I guess, more what I was going with the Obama thing. I don't want to get too far down that to think that I was, I'm not.
Oh, he was a fantastic orator.
I
actually agreed with you there.
Yeah. In that sense, what I more than anything else is that I felt like I could understand the message.
Yeah.
Whether good or bad, I could understand the message. And that just is simply just, the way it was presented. And I just am really struggling with these particular candidates at understanding the message.
I would like to see.
And that's with what we go with the kids and the parents, is that kids aren't understanding the message. And so I'm obviously not presenting it well.
Since FDR, now I'm getting heady. Since FDR, all the way to, let's just draw a line at Obama for a minute, for now. The two presidents that grew the federal government the most, Obama, FDR.
Yeah.
And it's a flip of a coin. Federal government has been growing since FDR. Okay, so that was kind of the beginning of a very large corporation growth. The reason I can't stand Slick Willie, Obama, is this government, with his slick words, grew exponentially. And those of us were like, sounds so good.
No, and I
Sounds so good. He plays basketball. That's why you really liked him. Because you want to hoop up with him.
Yeah, I don't know what. Maybe it's because I have a really hard time understanding or getting on board with somebody that spews hate.
Yeah.
I just in general.
I don't like
a negative message. I just tend to turn my ears off to a negative message, and that's what I've been hearing the last 8 years. And so maybe that's where if I was to boil it down, because I didn't really think this thought through before I was saying it, other than just to say that when I would hear him speak, I wasn't. Now you're right. It could have been completely rhetoric. It could have been putting the wool over our eyes, and I completely agree with that.
He did a great
because
job.
all politicians have done that, but I just didn't automatically feel this hole in my stomach when he got up there. And that's what I feel right now when our two, unfortunately.
What I like.
Politics aside, and I'm talking politics, I agree more with one side than the other. We've talked about that, and you can probably guess which side that is. But when they stand up, both of them, I automatically go, ugh, what's coming out of
I don't blame you. I enjoyed one or two things, okay, of Trump. And it took me a while. It took me dang near 3 years to go, that's different. Like most of what he said, he did.
Yeah, no, and Paul,
and
sure.
I have no idea how with all the wind against him.
Yeah,
I don't know how with all those investigations and the Russia collusion thing and all of the things and the wall that should have been built long before it was because he had so much pushback on the wall. Whether you agree with the wall or not, he had a ton of pushback on it. Then he would say, I'm going to get Mexico to pay for it. And in a way, yes. And in a way, no, that's happened. And then that's kind of interesting, slicing a hair.
Yeah.
And this, that, and the other. And then creating kind of an issue that probably was unforeseen, in my opinion, with amnesty. Is like, or not amnesty.
Asylum.
Asylum. Yes, asylum for our score. I love saying score. But these asylum seekers, it probably wasn't much of a thought because it's never been an issue. But I don't know how comprehensive the thought process was. I think they were just trying to lock it down and then kind of go from there type thing. That's wishful thinking on my end. I hope that they were looking to, all right, now what do we do with all of these that are already here? Now we're talking about way more that are already here today. But we're talking back then. Yeah. What are we going to do with this 11 million, which we both know is 5 times that? Back then, not the last 3 years, it's probably tripled.
Yeah.
So anyway, my point is, it doesn't matter. That said, I liked the transparency. I hated the tone.
That's where I'm at. Yeah.
I liked the transparency, hated the tone. And I liked that he did not like politicians.
And I'm okay with that too. Every message doesn't need to be that.
But if I'm going to say that about Trump, I agree with you there. If I'm going to say that about Trump, well, it doesn't look like many people like Biden either.
No, and I don't feel like that there's much. I'm not. This is not a Trump and Biden. You talked about divide in politics, and right now, unfortunately, like you said, it's the Yankees and the Red Sox, but there is no coming together after the game. It is just, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. If you do this, even if we compromise here, I still hate you, I still hate you, and that's where I've got.
So American patriots, all Americans out there, all Americans, anybody that lives in this country, we're all Major League Baseball. We're the country. We are the country. And so whether you like this side, we probably dislike things about each of our own sides, okay? But we're Americans, and you know what? We should treat each other that way.
Yeah, Hamilton and Jefferson hated each other.
Yeah, there's no question.
Absolutely hated each other, different political parties, but understood that they needed to come together and
they did
do something. And they did.
And they did.
And each compromised in their own way, and they probably went on their way, continuing their whole life to kind of hate each other from afar.
Sure.
But that the message that I get from them is that there is a time when you can come together for that identity, because they understood the purpose and the identity of the country. And so
Westover,
I don't know if we can get
Westover, you would have been, oh wait, you're a Lincoln fan. You know all about this. Everybody hated Lincoln. Or not everybody, but most.
Yeah, there was not a very well-respected president after the fact. Right?
History's been very good to him, but he was not liked at the time. What the orange man represents, this is interesting. He's like an orange lightsaber, which represents this is what our government looks like. Look at it, people. Look at it. Whether you look at it from this viewpoint or this viewpoint, we're all Americans and we're all wanting similar things.
You need to be his campaign manager then. Let's get that message out, right?
Let's do it. I would like to have him use the word we a little more.
Yeah.
And I'd like him to just go right on the issues, right to the issues.
And I'm totally okay with, like you said, I'm okay with the swamp and the dirty swamp and attack politics, attack politicians. I'm okay with that.
I don't really like the way politics is going.
When we're grouping people together that support certain issues, I'm okay with you disagreeing with him. I'm okay with you vehemently disagreeing with him. I just I don't think we accomplish anything. And I know this, and we're talking about parents, kids. If I'm going and telling my kid that he is a pig, he's always going to be a pig, he's never going to learn to not be a pig,
right?
And that's just who he is.
Right.
He's not going to clean up his garbage.
Right.
He's
that's
now
not going to work.
Identified as a pig, and now he's just going to fight against that the whole time, and he's going to be always building up his walls and defenses. And I feel like we've got these two parties that the minute something's said, because of the way it's delivered, we're building up our walls, and we're never going to tear them down until we can somewhat respect the other side. It doesn't have to be agree, but we got to respect.
I'm going to say I like the fact that we've disagreed a little bit today.
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to say I love the fact that, okay, I agree with that. But then there's an approach that I feel like is trying to be taken, and it's hard to find how to find the right people underneath, regardless of the president, the right people around the president to get this done. So we've got a House, we've got a Senate, we've got so much fat in our bureaucracies. So, okay, that's fine. It's not fine, actually, but it is what it is. That's just, we're acknowledging this.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we say to your kid, and so we're going to want to take the Trump approach. Let's say the Trump approach. Biden approach is, it's okay. It's okay, man. You know,
nothing's happening here.
It's okay. My uncle once had a couch, and there were so many things on it that, and I lived on that couch for 10 years, and it was perfectly fine. It was magic couch. It flew me to the moon and back 57 times. Okay, that's the Biden approach.
Yeah.
Trump's approach is, we're going to get you some opportunities. Let's figure out how we can get that a little cleaner. Or I'm giving him a little bit of credit there. Let's figure how we can get this cleaner. Okay? Do you know how beautiful? And then he has to go on and on and on about the perfect cup of water or pretty windows. Okay. I like that message better, and to actually make a difference in our homes, make a difference in our country. It needs to start from a place of, all right, we have a problem, and we need to seek some solutions. So some of these things is, do we talk to the kids? What can we do to where there aren't four hands in this home that do everything?
Yeah.
What can we do when it's just me and your mom doing everything? Because even though one of the flip-flops was one pair of those four hands, to be fair, she has kind of a lot of those, and we have 3 daughters that wear the same thing. So I'm not, but still, I'm just still throwing it out. It was still a good experiment. That said, how do I approach that? How do you approach that, having the same problem in your home? And I understand it. I mean, they have their buddies all around. You get pizza boxes, or if you got the Costco oven pizza, which is pretty tasty, by the way. I don't like to admit this, but I admit it full on. That said, though, it's kind of like, all right, I'm not going to let you guys have your friends over. Daddy, because when my little girl says it, and it's just as bad when she does it, not quite as, but still bad. Daddy, can blah, 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 come over? Can I have a late night? You know what? No. And this is why, and to show the pictures of the way it looked the last time. That's that's raising. Okay? So when you have Oregon or Portland, I think it is, that's just on fire all the bloody time, pull the federal funding. Pull it. What is it going toward?
Yeah.
Future destruction? Pull it. California, why in the hell? Why are we throwing all our money that way? I don't get it. Pull it. Pull it. You know what? They're going to have to learn that way. Pull it. No, the friends can't come over. No, the funding's just not there. No, the funding's not there. Why? Because you're misspending the funding. Okay, you're not representing your people, right or left. And the minute we understand that as Americans, as citizens, that is what's going on, I don't like the fact that the federal government even has a say in that.
Yeah.
I hate that. And that I would like to see change ultimately, but now I'm getting way over the bridge there. But to me, I don't want to be none of us parents want to be the heavy hand. But maybe that drip dry that your mom made you do for a few weeks is, here you are talking about it much later than that. And you probably hung up your towel most of the time in your life since.
It was a good lesson.
See? She's a good woman. I don't even know her, and I can't wait to go out with you and your wife. We'll put them on it. We'll talk about garbage and whatnot next week. But just vote. But we're all Americans.